Right now, we're here at Robert at the Museum of Military Memorabilia, and it's actually inside of an airport, which is pretty cool. Now, here they have a lot of cool stuff, as you can see behind us, which actually Robert here can explain. Like, what type of memorabilia is contained in here?
It's mainly inside the room here. This 900 square feet. It's mainly aviation related. Naples Army Airfield was started to be built in 1942, and it became Naples Municipal Airport. I believe it was like 1948. So in those from 43, when the airport was actually completed, until 48, or to the end of the war, it was Naples Army Airfield, and it was a training facility for pilots and gunners and that kind of stuff.
All right, now how did the museum get started, and how long has it been going for?
The museum got started we got a 501c3, we're a nonprofit, and we got that in 2006.
Oh, okay.
And we were a traveling museum up until 2000. Well, we still travel, but in 2011, in 2010, I met Ted Soliday. He's the executive director here. He was a Marine Corps pilot, helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and I came in. We were doing we had done a display for the Vietnam vets, a fundraiser down here in Naples, and we had some military vehicles and military displays, Vietnam period. And then about a year later, we were at Cambier Park for Armed Forces Day, and I asked one of the members of our board if he would reintroduce me to the executive director from the airport, and he said he was across from the monument. He was on the other side of where the seating was, and I went over and introduced myself to him. A week later, I came down and met with him, and for almost the next year, I had meetings with him or people that filled in for him. And in June 16th of 2011, I went in front of the Airport Authority Board, presented a PowerPoint presentation,
Okay.
and which the airport actually put to one of the managers here actually put that together of photographs I had of the aviation, World War II aviation that we have, and I went in front of the Airport Authority Board on that date, June 16th, and was supposed to have given a 5 to 10 minute presentation. By the time I did that, and they asked me all kinds of questions, it was probably more like 20 minutes, and they voted unanimously to give us this room. Now, actually, when I first talked to Mr. Soliday, I asked just for enough room for 2 display cases, and this is what we ended up with, 900 square feet. The Airport Authority does not charge us rent for this space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all rent-free, and we live off of donations. We have donation boxes, and that's what we live off of. We don't have to charge anything because we don't have anything to pay, but we still need donations to cover cleaning of uniforms when they've donated to us. We get those cleaned all the time so that there's no chance of moths being in them and infecting everything else. We also have insurance that we have to pay for this area, and just regular expenses for paperwork, and you know, we anything that's that we can reproduce, so we don't have to put original copies out, we do that. So we need money for that, but that's what we live off of.
Now, there definitely is a lot more than 2 display cases. How do you get these memorabilia? Do people donate, and how can they donate?
Yes, they after most people don't know about us, but when they happen to come by and rent a car and come in here, and then they discover us, they have things from their family at home, and we have what we call a deed of gift, and they fill that out. They just with their name and address and telephone numbers, and then I take everything that they donate and record it all, and we photograph it, and then we send them a deed of gift, a copy. And anyway, they can bring it here to the museum, or if they don't have transportation, we'll go to their homes and pick it up. But that's all they do is just they can even call us. We have there's two ways of getting a hold of us. There's the email address. You want that now?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Okay, it's Museum Miltry, MILTRY, the number 1, at embarkmail.com, and our webpage is www.museum-mm.org, and that has more information on it.
And now here's a side question that I'm actually going to be adding on here, and I'm actually really interested about. I understand that you have a lot more memorabilia. This is not just that, like, you have it stored somewhere else. Do you tend to flip the memorabilia, like switch it out from time to time so that they all can get their fair share of being seen by people?
Yes. We've been open 2 years now, and we haven't flipped it yet because we've been adding stuff to it as things come in. We don't have that. We have a lot that has been donated, but not necessarily aviation. And inside the room, we're keeping that just at World War II aviation because of the airport. Out in the hallway, we have from the Civil War through present day, as soon as we get a few more display cases. And anyway, yeah, we try to change out the ones in the hallway because they're not necessarily aviation, and we have a lot more of that. Okay. But in here right now, we don't have enough to actually change out a whole display case as of now.
And now, if the viewers go to the webpage and the email address, they can learn more information about any special events that you're doing, right?
Yes, yeah. The webpage will have everything that we do. We do most of the major holidays. The November 11th was our grand opening, so this will be our second anniversary of the grand opening this November 11th. Okay. But we do Memorial Day. We do extended. We do displays on these occasions. We set out 30 6-foot tables out in the lobby and in the hallway, and we do fill them with display cases that are tabletop display cases, so you just look down on them.
All right, well, thank you for taking the time and letting me interview. I had a fun time.
I did too. I hope you can edit this and get
And thank you for watching these interviews. Stay tuned for more interviews and updates. We'll see you later.
Yeah. I got out of school and got drafted into the Army. I was only going to be in for 1 year. That was when, they had the 1-year draftees. Well, before my year was up, December 7th came along, and so I was in for the duration. Well, what happened then is I had a wife and a kid and one on the way, so I figured I better join up with get a commission. So I got my commission and was a commissioner, first lieutenant for quite a while. And then they decided that they were going to accept married men into the Air Corps. So I always was a bug about flying, so of course I went and signed up. I went through my training and then was stationed down at, well, they put me in troop carrier because they figured I had a wife, a couple of kids, and that was a safe place to be. Well, it wasn't any safer. In fact, I don't think it was as safe as if I was flying a bomber or a fighter up there. But anyway, I was stationed at Pope Field and to learn to fly the paratroopers. Well, make a long story short, we ended up going overseas and ended up in England and we prepared for the invasion. Finally, one night Eisenhower came down the base and talked to us, and of course everybody was ready. So then we mounted up in our aircraft. It was, I don't know, probably 10 o'clock at night on June 5th, because we were over the drop zone and we dropped troopers on D-Day. We were over the drop zone about, I remember, 1:32 in the morning. The time sticks in my mind. But I always say that only me and my laundryman knew how scared I was. But from there, I participated in several other missions, up into Nijmegen, across the Rhine, southern France, and finally I had a little problem. I had to go up to the hospital, and I was in the hospital up there when the end of the war came in Europe. And so I had scarlet fever. And of course, the day they let me out of the hospital, I went to Paris, and my brother-in-law was there. So he and I were out walking the streets, very quiet, nothing happening. And then at 12 o'clock precisely, General Charles de Gaulle came on the air, and they had speakers all over. And you could hear him, "La guerre est finie." And of course, people just poured into the streets, and they were dousing you with champagne and kissing you and carrying on. So, but I was lucky that I got what they call ZI, sent back to the United States for treatment. And of course, while I was here in the hospital down in Harrisburg, Virginia, the war in Japan ended. So, that ended my career. I stayed in the reserves for 5 years, but I wanted to re-sign in the reserve. I actually wanted to go on active duty again, but for some reason or other, they said they lost my records in Korea. By the time they sent me the last notice about not being able to find my records, the Korean War was getting active, and I said, forget it. So that was it.
I have a question, couple. Just to go back to the way you mentioned, the airborne drops the night before D-Day. Can you mention maybe which, was it the 101st or the 86th?
We dropped 100 elements at the 100.
So if you can get into a little bit about what that was like, because as you well know, and people read histories and so forth. Well, I'm not rolling yet, but what the atmosphere was at the drop zones.
They closed the base about a week before the drop. We were all anticipating it, but when they closed the base up and everything went quiet, we knew that probably the action was going to start. And so the night before or the day before, I remember they lined all the airplanes up on the runway, and all the paratroopers with all their gear and whatnot came out. And I'll say Eisenhower came down and talked to us. And I remember one funny little story, like, Eisenhower was talking about, how good it was that we were going to go, save the country or whatever. And so one of the guys said, yeah, that's a lot of BS. We're going to let us save our ass just like everybody else. But anyway, that was real quiet. Of course, on the airplane, nobody was talking. I mean, if you look back at the paratroopers sitting back there, they were all, quiet, praying, I guess. But one little incident I do remember, that we all had 45 caliber automatics, and they had little carbines, and so one of the paratroopers was talking to me before he got on the airplane. He said, you know, these are no good. These carbines are no good in close-up combat. So he said, I'd rather have what you got. And I said, well, you take mine. So anyway, but they were very solemn. And then at the time, the progress of the invasion was kind of unique. We flew up the coast of England for a little bit. Then we turned across the Channel and came across by St. Michel and across the Cherbourg Peninsula. But I remember the flak. I could see it. There were different units, you know, groups, and one group passed the flak. You see the flak come up. There might be a group going up like this, and another one coming down below, but they were, you know, spread apart. So what we did is we fly up over the low one and then down underneath the high one. But and then came time for the paratroopers to hook up. They all hooked up and they got the green light, and it was just like, that was it. They were gone. So then we were floating and flying. I don't know. We were probably 300-400 feet. They liked to get down as low as they could. And after we dumped the paratroopers, we climbed back up to 3,000 feet and took off back to England.
You said you were involved then, obviously, in Operation Market Garden, which was, you
I don't
know,
remember the names of them.
well, it was the bridge too far. That was the airborne drop on Arnhem and Nijmegen and so
Yeah,
forth.
we were to Arnhem, yeah. And Nijmegen, I dropped at Nijmegen, and then in southern France. And then we went across the Rhine. I don't remember what they call that one, but that one I think we dropped some elements of the 82nd Airborne. But that was a big operation too.
How did you feel, or were you involved in any of the drops where you might see someone out on your left wing, right wing, you know, get hit with flak?
I did. I guess it was the time we were going across the Rhine, and there were three elements. There was one on my right, one on my left. The one on my left were mostly C-46s, and they really caught it, because I don't know, we were over the right, and for some reason or other they were right in a line of fire, and they, you know, you could count them going down, just snapping your fingers. They were going down in flames. So.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.